eventually be getting into this first game. Best of 3 series, of course, between York and Lancaster. We've got York on the blue side. It's Noodles, Daddy Fred, Udak, Daddy Shane, and Daddy Mike. 3 daddies. On the red side, of course, it's going to be Lancaster, Popeye Peters, Ed My Suffering, AU Fault, I'm Grumpy, same dude, and Polydeer. We will be lining up soon once this pause ends, hopefully, and try and get into this early game.
Yeah, it's going to resume in about 2 seconds now, as the client so kindly tells us. And the game could start right ahead. I don't expect any tricky invades, although I might be wrong. Level 1 should be fairly calm. Potentially a good, easy Raptor start for both junglers. Rek'Sai completely able to do so. Kha'Zix might need a bit of help from either the Cassiopeia or just the Thresh Flail will be enough, actually. But we'll have to see how that goes.
Kha'Zix is clear, definitely not matching Rek'Sai's early on, but once he gets some AD, he can abuse those AD ratios and really get going. I think on a clear. The race to the first gank, I think, will be something interesting that we get to watch. We see Lancaster actually lining up into the right side mid River Brush.
Might be a level 1 play
waiting
here
to see if there's an invade in, but we see from York it's just a very default start, covering the 4 entrances to the bush, to their jungle, making sure that Lancaster aren't invading. No one to risk running into a Nautilus Dredge line or any other such CC. A Flash and Burrow from Rek'Sai could also very much secure any kind of first blood, but it looks like they're just going to be backing off now. And 2 separate starts here. Junglers, Rek'Sai on the on the east side of the jungle, looking to start on her blue buff, and Daddy Fred will actually be moving down to the south side jungle to start on his red.
Ooh, they got a nice ward spotting out the potential Raptor star I was talking about, and they're going to spot out that Rek'Sai's not there, so it has to be, or it's going to be, potentially the blue buff going up. So they'll have already in good information. They've got a good ward set up.
And we see Freddy starting on the Raptors, picking up the small ones, I think, quickly. Perhaps he's having a skill W to get a quick level 2. And meanwhile, we see a leash there. So York getting to lane early in the bot lane, and that's definitely going to give them a slight advantage in that pushing power. And you see already they're really shoving that wave in.
Yeah, they're going to reset level 2 really quickly, and it's extremely important. The level 2 power spike on Thresh is going to be amazing, and they're going to be under a lot of pressure in the bot lane, especially with that Ignite. But it seems like Ezreal is going to stay relatively safe. Level 2 is going to come in on the next wave, I believe. Yeah,
3 more melee minions will in fact do it for York and get them that early level 2. Which will definitely should help them to have the pressure. Meanwhile, we see more action in the bot lane because it's just such a fun place to be. It's in early level 2, and honestly, despite it getting quite a level 2, Shen Noodles there not willing to risk the wrath of Nautilus. Popeye Peters, he was unsure with the level, and so he decided to play it safe, back off despite his level advantage. And we don't really see any massive disparities opening up. Although already 4 CS in the bot lane in favour of Lancaster, despite the fact that Daddy Shane and Daddy Mike were in the lane first. Daddy Shane displaying his typical inability to hit defenseless minions.
Ooh, I feel like the coach in you is already seething with anger, but you are correct in being angry because they went to lane first and they did manage to get the level 2, which is extremely important. Instead, they're gonna get pushed in by an Ezreal, and as an Ashe, you know something messed up at some point in that laning phase when you're getting pushed up by the Ezreal. Karma obviously helping a lot with her Qs and Mantra power Qs.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we see Orianna, in fact, using those early game abilities to really push in the wave. But Udak in this game, not missing a trick, making sure to pick up as much of that CS, and already holds a 5 lead despite being pushed under his tower for quite a lot of the lane phase. So he's definitely going to be picking up well in there. Meanwhile, in top lane, looks like a bit of a wet noodle fight. Both tanks on full health, both respecting each other, and I think Noodles will be happy to take the rough side of that matchup with some free CS and not be feeling too pressured about it.
I really like the decision to go for triple Reju beat start on the side of Shen. When you're not under a lot of pressure, the triple Rejus, like as in a burst of actual, dying of very strong laners, like a Riven and whatnot. It's a really good start for these tank v tank matchups because it just provides you with a lot of safety. You can go for these little wet.
We do see the gank coming in though. Ed My Suffering coming on a nice Unburrow, interrupts the Shadow Dance. Noodles is going to have to flash if he wants to live here. Although he's going to try and walk out. Ed My Suffering not quite getting his damage off cleanly there, not getting the full true damage on Ferocious Bite. And as a result, Noodles is able to walk out without that desire. Meanwhile, Jason is going to go in. He's low on mana, Udak. in the mid lane, but he is going to trade away a lot of health from AU Fault, and he'll have to be picking up, using some of those potions to keep himself that way. Daddy Mike's looking to come forward. He's going to throw out the hook. Ooh, narrowly missing the E. Narrowly missing the prediction on the E there. Iron Grumpy managing to keep himself safety, and just like that we see York starting to push out a few levels in. They're going to be testing the waters and testing the abilities of Lancaster to avoid, to deal with their aggression, because that is how York likes to play, very aggressive.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be able to, it's going to open up the map for them, especially with this Infernal Drake up and Kha'Zix a great Dragon Taker. They're really going to want to push up these lanes and enable the Kha'Zix to just go for that Dragon. An early Infernal Drake is going to do a lot for them in this game, especially with, you know, a Kha'Zix in the jungle who really is going to benefit from that extra AD.
We do see a disparity actually in the items between the junglers. On both have backed and spent some money, but Daddy Fred has opted for the Tracker's Knife, a full upgrade immediately, and well, we see a more aggressive option from Ed My Suffering with the double longsword rejuve bead there actually.
Probably going to go for a Tiamat if I had to guess, and he might take the role of a split pusher in this game, try and act as if they had a double teleport, go for that Titanic Hydra, because I do still assume that he's going to go for Cinderhawk. I'll be damned if he don't. And he wants to make sure that he's able to take out pressures in the side lane later into this game. In the meantime, I do enjoy the Tracker's Knife start on the side of Daddy Fred, as long as he can spot out this Ed My Suffering on Rek'Sai, which he currently has. He has a great wards actually all over their jungle. Great, what's the word I'm looking for?
Great vision control.
Great vision control, thank you.
Yes, as you say rightly, lots of wards littered on the east side, thanks in part to Daddy Jason there, but also to Udak, sorry I keep forgetting to call him that, and also obviously Freddy using that vision control as you rightly say, and definitely a style that he's been working on, and it's going to be used to great effect. They see Ed My Suffering tracker across, you see the pings come out, despite the fact that there's no ward there. Udak and the team know exactly where Rek'Sai is, and he's just going to try and get himself away here. The gank attempt comes in, but nothing much happening. Udak knowing exactly where the gank is coming from and just completely able to shut that down. So that's that vision control really coming in well there, I think, for York.
Yeah, great jungle tracking, and now the top lane is a 6, and 6 is so important on Shen. He's going to be able to play across the map, and with the great communication that I know the York team probably has, and I'm hoping that you taught them, I'm sure he'll be able to make great use of that, especially in the bot lane. You have so much CC. Once those bot laners hit 6, it's going to be a fiesta bot. There's definitely going to be a good classic 4 or 5 man bot, and I'd expect that, and potentially a tower and a Drake to follow with that.
7 minutes into this first game so far, no kills yet, despite us promising you some bloodthirsty action, but York and Lancaster both feeling each other out, both respecting each other here. Not too much going on. There was a slight mid lane CS disparity, and we see Daddy Jason actually has a bit of a freeze going on in the mid lane there, so he will be picking up some extra CS, but we also see that matched in reply in the bot and the top lane. I'm Grumpy in particular carrying a slight lead on Daddy Shane there, despite them having that initial advantage. The York players actually haven't backed for quite a while. Both Shen and Ash, I think, are sitting on just nigh of 2,000 gold, which is really gonna be bad for them. I think if a fight turns out, they need to get back and spend that money.
They definitely do, especially since Kha'Zix is already starting the Infernal Drake, and they do have most of the lanes pushed up. Obviously, there's a free setup by Udak in the mid lane, as you rightly pointed out, and we don't want to see that right now. He wants to see him pushing so they can actually enable this Kha'Zix to get their Infernal Drake, but he will get it nonetheless.
A nice solo pickup there for Daddy Fred, and an Infernal Drake for York will definitely be that extra damage boost is definitely something that these champions will want. Kha'Zix, Cassiopeia all be benefiting from that damage bonus, especially once they get a few items on them. So really good pickup there, really nice pickup for York.
Yeah, most definitely, and we have to see what the next dragon is. I can't quite tell it. Let's
have a
see.
quick look. It's going to
a
be a
Mountain Drake, which is extremely important, especially for Baron Rush. You have a Cassiopeia.
Daddy Mike's find himself a little out of position here. My Suffering's going to hop over the wall. The box goes down. Daddy Mike, though, is going to have to flash the Shen ultimate. Comes in at the last minute.
Oh,
My Suffering, though, the turn's going to happen. Noodles does have flash available if he wants to go in. Daddy Shane walking forward, and a little bit of a cluster from the players here of York and Lancaster, but in the end, no one is allowed to die, and the lead stays at a very, very small, meager 100, 200 in favour of York, but practically even right now. Could be could be anyone's game as far as it's going.
Most definitely anyone's game at the moment. Great collapse on the side of Lancaster in the ball lane. Ufall might be in a bit of trouble.
All in though, and he lands the twin Fang empowered, and Daddy Jason is going to take first blood for York. And that's a fantastic, fantastic pickup there. We just didn't expect that damage.
No, he didn't. He didn't respect the miasma at all. And now he's going to have a lot of CS shoved in on the bottom again, as you mentioned earlier. Udak out frozen the wave, and now there's a gigantic wave that's going to crash into the turret, and it's going to deny so much CS from Ufall, who's already so far behind. He's already 20 CS behind.
Edmai suffering, trying to pick up what he can of the wave, but as you so rightly pointed out, that big minion wave is missed by a terrible time for Ufall to go down. He didn't even use barrier. He was just so overwhelmed by the damage coming out, so I think maybe a little bit scared. Well, it's with Danny Mike though, he's going to land the death sentence on the poly there. They're not going to want to all in though. Danny Mike is still quite low, and Daddy Shane walks forward. Takes quite a lot of health those troubles. But if they get some gank assistance or a mid lane roam, those hooks could prove to be very crucial for York's success in the bot lane.
Yeah, most definitely, but I think right now they're probably waiting on that Shen ultimate to come up again, just for that extra safety net, and again, the party bot lane, as we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Some important power spikes coming in through now. The Kha'Zix has finished his jungle item now. No problems clearing the jungle at all, and he's going to pack a whole Oliver punch when he comes bot lane, which I think he's pinging right now.
Yeah. Pings that in, and it looks like to me he's going to be making as well. Just move that hand so we can see the mini map. But unfortunately, doesn't look like they're going to head that way. Unfortunately, in the top lane, the Noodles is about to be ganked again. He does have his flash available and his taunting. Have to see how he plays this though. Everything is available for Lancaster. Meanwhile, we see an engage onto Poly down the bot lane. Jason's going to charging forward. A Deadly Fred eliminates him from the map. Just like that, half HP to nothing. 2-0 in favour of York. We saw Noodles escape the gank top lane without even having to flash, and York starting to really open up the map here.
And although Noodles has the right idea, when you want to gank the one with the global, you want to do that with more people.
Though, he's just going to go straight in. Edmai suffering. He's got no goal at all. Daddy Fred has completed that jungle item. So you can't be here. Udak though will be going in the mid lane. 3-0 in favour of York. The shot misses. He dodges it, grabs the kill as well. 2-0 for Cassiopeia, 2-0 for Kha'Zix, and just like that, this game is completely opened up in favour of York.
And this is why you banned the Cassio. You were mentioning in Champion Select. This is a strong pick. Udak is a beast on this Cassiopeia, and he's proving it again now. He's 20 CS ahead, and he's going to go for the mid lane turret with Daddy Fred. They might even get it. That might be first lane turret, and that's going to be a lot of gold in that pocket of the Cassiopeia.
Rek'Sai has no ult available. She literally just teleported out in that last play and got immediately killed. Very unfortunate for Edmai suffering, and they are going to lose that mid lane turret. Kha'Zix and Cassiopeia sharing the gold there, I think, and they both now are sitting on a very pretty penny. 1,500 on Cassiopeia, 1,250 on Kha'Zix, and just like that, York's mid lane jungle duo, master tier, and they're displaying a mastery of the game right now, really dominating their opponents and looking to push forward with this lead, I'm sure.
And as you toggled on the gold difference wasn't even cashed in from Cassiopeia, so this was an even quote-unquote trade in terms of item, in terms of power spike. Now she's going to come back in with 1.5k extra gold. She's going to absolutely annihilate this Orianna, and the problem with that is Cassiopeia scales, and she scales really hard. This was the moment taken.
They're going to be throwing in an engage. Shen ultimate coming in from this, interrupted though by Popeye Peters. That's a nice interrupt. They're still going to go for the fight. Meanwhile, we see a trade in top lane. I don't think too much is going to come from that. Noodles is trying to make it into an all-in, but they literally don't have the damage to kill each other. They're too tanky, and the trade in bot lane is actually called off in the end. Daddy Fred and Edmai suffering both in the area. So what looked like could be a very coordinated play from York, well interrupted by Popeye Peters in the top lane.
Yeah, exactly. You're completely right. Very good interrupt on the side of Nautilus. He has a wealth of CC on this kid, so that is the problem in this lane. If Noodles is in far beyond his own turret, he will get it out. He won't get it out. Oh, there's the
Daddy Fred coming right in there and taking his lunch money, taking that grump away from him. This is exactly how Kha'Zix likes to operate, in the shadows, moving into the jungle and just being so aggressive. And there's nothing they can do here, I think, Lancaster. They just have to give up this side of the jungle completely. And we see a 4-man row. The hook's going to land to Edmai suffering. In comes Kha'Zix, and goodbye, Edmai suffering. Udak on a killing spree. I'm Grumpy and Polly there. They're stuck on the turret now. They're 2v4. No Shen ultimate, but TP is available. Polly taking so much time already. Freddy and Mike are behind him. Noodles coming in. Here comes the CLG bot lane. It's 5-on-2, and Noodles isn't even there, and they're both dead. Completely unnecessary TP. We'll be having words later, but right now, that's not what they need to know. All we need to know now, York are 7-0 ahead in favour of kills. They'll take their second bot tower. 2 towers to 0, 7 kills to 0, and York just showing their quality there with that rotation.
And that is 5k gold ahead. Oh, there's the Rek'Sai coming in. She's probably doesn't want to be here.
There's the hook, there's the flash. Get immediately shockwaved in return. Noodles is going for it. We'll get the flash taunt onto MI7. He's not having a good game, ladies and gentlemen. 0 and 3. Daddy Mike picking that one up for himself.
There's no turret.
Picking up his first kill of the game. AU thought that he's going to be running for his life. Flashes away, takes the E. He's on so little HP, but he's not going to take. Popeye Peters comes into the fight, but Udak will just take them all as they come. That Cassiopeia is 4-0-2, very, very strong, and this game has gone from slightly cracked open to completely wide open in favour of your 6,000 gold leader, second dragon, 2-0 in towers, and it's not looking good for Lancaster.
It is most definitely not looking good for Lancaster, and now the entire team's about to cash in on all their hard-spent, hard-earned gold. It's going to be close to the Black Cleaver now for Kha'Zix. It's going to be a needlessly large rod for the Cassiopeia. It's going to be finished items, especially for Shen with the Tiamat as well now being picked up. The Bork for Ashe. If they want, they can really rush this Baron quickly. They could do it. Sadly, the Baron's not up. We still have 5 whole minutes before the Baron comes up.
Only 15 minutes into game and already a 5,500 gold lead now. Just really nice control, and just you say credit especially to Udak flexing his muscles there. They gave him the Cassio pick. We knew it was going to be a bad idea. They didn't listen to anyone's advice, and well, 4-0 and 2, 134 CS at 15 minutes. And he'll, you know what, I'll go to him and I'll say, how do you think you did? And he'll go, oh, I missed some CS. I guarantee you right now, the man's an absolute perfectionist and just very dominant in this game currently. We'll have to see if York can push through this advantage to a quick early win, or if we do end up with a slightly later game. We'll have to see, time will tell.
Yeah, but even in this late game, this Cassiopeia has been propelled so far forward that she's going to hit her like late game power spike monster status so quickly, and she can probably 1v9 at that stage of the game. They're going to flex her around, as you say, flex their muscles around Rift Herald potentially. They've got the vision control for it, and Udak is pushing up mid. There's going to need to be a response from that, but do they really want? They have to take the long way around the jungle because they're under so much pressure from Udak, and they're going to start. There's definitely pinging zone around the Rift Herald.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see if they go for
they're
it.
starting to look for the Rift Herald, and AD are going to try and pick that up. Noodles and Fred will both want it. My Sovereign is lurking. He'll be looking for the steal. Bot lane are in top lane in both sides, just matching that push on the tower, and My Sovereign chooses not to go for any kind of steal. I think Cassiopeia picks up the kill, but I think it'll be Shen or Kha'Zix with the buff. We will see that shortly, I'm sure, once we see them.
I might be wrong.
That is why I think that's what would be a good option. Give that Shen a little more pushing power, and you see him already making his way down to that bot lane to pick up a monstrous wave of CS. He'll be looking to get that and catch back up on Nautilus, who is actually a fair amount of CS ahead. The price you pay for being Shen and having to TP in R away on cooldown.
Yeah, and Shen didn't even...
does land onto My Suffering. A nice target switch. They can't flay the tunnel out, and the box a little premature there. Not even getting pops there as Rek'Sai tunnel down. A little bit of a whiff there from Daddy Mike. Doesn't normally miss those flays, but a nice mix-up from My Suffering to go not in a linear direction. Daddy Shane, though, he's found himself exposed. Popeye Peters is going forward, but the rest of the team is actually caught back.
There's no one here with him. What's he doing?
Rek'Sai engaging. Daddy Shane Udak are ripping Popeye Peters apart. Meanwhile, Daddy Fred is just taking the 1v1 with Ezra. That'll be a 2-for-0, 3-for-0. Cassiopeia just limited, and My Suffering is now caught tunneling. They're going to go deep for him. That's going to be 4-for-0. AU Fort doesn't even use his shockwave. There's just nothing there for him to do. 4-for-0 in favour of York, and just like that, it would look like it was going to be an engage for Popeye Peters. York turned it around, and it's almost a 10,000 goal lead at 18 minutes. Yeah,
now this is starting to look like a massacre, and honestly, I'm not quite sure what that teamfight was. It looked like a teamfight of desperation. Popeye Peters kind of engaging solo on his own, and even though he's a really tanky Nautilus and can probably 1v1 the Ashe, he definitely cannot deal with Udak. Udak, full AP, he has no magic resist apart one tiny little null-magic mantle, and that's not going to be enough against the might of this Cassiopeia, who's now 5-0-4. AU Fall doing the best thing that he can in pushing mid. He might get a consolation prize with this mid turret, which would be a start. But now it's looking really grim on the side of Lancaster, and they're already probably thinking about the next pick in ban phase and banning away Cassio.
18 indeed. 18 minutes and Kha'Zix perhaps. 18 and a half minutes, 12 kills to 0. It's almost not just over 9,000, just under 9,000 gold ahead. It's a dominating performance from York. 2 dragons. The third one will be coming up in not too long, maybe just over 2 minutes. Another mountain dragon. Yeah, we see the timer come in, so that'll perhaps be important. But more likely, I think we're going to have to turn our attention to the big purple river realm coming up 1 minute. Baron Nashor will be on the map.
Actually, AU Fault might be happy because that, I believe, is the first blue buff he's secured all game. Daddy Fred did an amazing job in the early game, just counter jungling and just having control of this topside jungle, completely denying Ed My Suffering and AU Fault from both sides. Oh, Daddy Mike looking maybe for a cheeky hug.
Indeed. Rek'Sai definitely getting the early farm advantage, but Daddy Fred just using his time so much more efficiently, I think, just clearing and immediately moving towards Daddy. Udak there goes for the interesting Cassiopeia Petrifying Gaze there, but not going to actually connect with anyone at all.
The tactical.
A little bit angsty from York, looking to push, looking to be aggressive. Another death sentence flies out, and Yancaster are just running scared right now.
Yeah, and they definitely should be. Although Udak, without his ultimate, there's some counterplay available now. With his ultimate, a bit less so. But all they can do is maybe like defend up. But once that Baron spawns, you know that York's definitely going to be on it, and they're going to be able to do it so quickly. They do have one Mountain Drake and one Infernal, and if they want to do it, they have another Mountain Drake coming up, which would just accelerate that Baron taking process so much faster. Ooh.
Indeed, Noodles and I completely lost my train of thought, but yes, Baron will definitely becoming a factor in the next few minutes. I expect we already see York grouping up towards there. Noodles off in the sideline. That's where I was. Noodles is off in the sideline with Pop IPs, just gently pushing them in, giving them a bit of the business, bit of a bop in with those battens. But ultimately, it will be a pretty stale affair in the top lane, or the bot lane as it is now. So really, I think the next action will be, we'll have to be looking towards Baron and have to see if anyone gets caught out. Ed My Suffering, the predictive death sentence on the fan, the Blade of Ruin King Actor is going to go. Ed My Suffering with nowhere to go. That's going to pick that up, and they're going to go for an immediate turn onto Baron. Lancaster are going to respond though.
That was a very greedy jungle clear by Ed My Suffering, especially when you saw I'm Grumpy use his ult to check the Baron. They had literally no vision anywhere near there. When you're not with your team, you can't do these kind of things.
They're going to find Noodles here. Daddy Mike is going to be trying to zone them off. They are going to finish the Baron. They will try to. Pop IP is going to get, and already the Baron's gone down.
Oh,
the big four-man shockwave from AU. 1 kill, 2 kills, almost 3 kills. Daddy Fred's Shen is coming in now. Noodles is going to go down though. He's going to die for his troubles trying to save Freddy there, and they get the Baron, but a massive shockwave from AU Fault. First 3 kills for Lancaster on the board, and what a time they could come. Big play from AU Fault there.
Most definitely in a great wombo combo between the ultimate from Orianna and the follow-up from Nautilus of all places as a damage dealer. Yep. Insane. They're going to have a gigantic gold swing. Well, I say gigantic. They're still around 8,000 gold behind, but it is a start. And if you can land these wombo combo ults, you will eventually start to win the game. Orianna is still a good champion that can scale, that can really provide that teamfight power.
Say a very, very greedy Baron. I think they're only getting the 1 kill.
Oh my god, the steal!
But Kha'Zix just comes in with that, those void spikes and just ends Ed My Suffering's career 0-5 and can't even smite the dragon away. That's unfortunate, but they did pick up the Baron. Lancaster did pick up crowd cheering its appreciation there of that dragon still, but nevertheless Lancaster definitely picking up the 3 kills, definitely picking up that definitely getting Baron buff off 3 people, and they didn't stop the Baron going down. And York still have it, so we're definitely going to go Ed My Suffering just taking so much damage from the Cassiopeia there. But ultimately, it's going to be on York to push here and not to get caught up in another of those ults, because the mental factor in getting caught in a massive shockwave, I think it can be very very demoralizing. So we're going to have to see if they can stay cool.
You don't want to go for the famous Dignitas move, but more importantly, there's the Baron buff on both the jungler and the mid laner of York. Udak still has it, and very, very strong. He has a lot of zoning potential with the miasma, so he can still siege if he wants to, and it provides a really powerful entity in front of which they can center their siege around. And he's got the Athene's. Wait, no, that's not the Athene's. What I'm looking for. The Archangel Staff complete. So now he's getting a buttload of AP from that as well. The Void Staff, the Abyssal Scepter coming in soon. Point Peters might be in
does
trouble.
land onto Popeye Peters. Death Sentence doesn't quite connect. He's just going to walk out of there. But the Baron buff doing all they need to. They don't need to kill the man here. As you see, 4 members of York rotate around. Cassiopeia keeping up the pressure in the mid lane. Another tower falls. 5 towers to 1. Mid lane tower was picked up by Lancaster after that 3-man shockwave by AU Fault. But it's very much a drop in the ocean right now. 10,000 gold behind still after that play, after that minor momentum shift. But now York firmly back in the driver's seat and really looking to close out and extend their advantage with this Baron.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised they didn't manage to open up the base with the Baron. They have it on 2 key members, so they can't actually push 2 side lanes at the same time. But at the same time, Lancaster is providing a great defense. I'm surprised as well that the mid laner doesn't go, the mid lane turret, there we go, doesn't go down. They're trying to look for the York team, Daddy Mike finally hitting a hook.
Landing that death sentence. He's been pretty decent with them most of the game. They're going to be a two-man battle now. Onto Popeye Peters. No taunt coming in from Shen, so he's going to be able to walk it away. But the pressure here just building and building for York. And we see that mid lane tower taking even more damage. Daddy Shane not afraid to step up and auto attack there. And that tower is literally on 1 HP. Is that literally 1 HP?
I believe it's literally 1 HP. It is literally 1 HP.
A 1 HP turret there, and that is basically not a turret right now.
I think a gentle breeze will take it down.
That's essentially 6 towers to 1 in favour of York, and we will see that confirmed, I think, by one beefy auto attack from someone. Meanwhile, Ed My Suffering is going to get caught, not quite getting hit by the taunt, and they'll just let the minions finish that off in the mid lane. 6 turrets to 1, over 10,000 gold lead now, close to 11,000. And York just really closing out. They've closed out all 6 outer and inner turrets. They've taken the first Baron, taken 3 dragons out of 3 thanks to a cheeky little steal from Daddy Fred. And it's really strong commanding position for them in this first game of the series.
Most definitely. And now if you want to play League of Legends by the book, which they currently are, they're taking all the outers, they're pushing all the turrets in. What you definitely want to do is ward up that topside jungle, wait for the Baron to respawn and take it, or go for picks, obviously, in the jungle. Try and avoid that 5v5 team fight. You can burn that Baron extremely fast. Again, Cassio, even more damage now that she has 3 complete items and a 3rd one going strong. She's got 2 Mountain Drakes, so they can burn it extremely quickly, and is going to be less of an issue than last time. Definitely want to give her blue buff and prep for that.
I mean, you say give, I think the man's just going to take it. No, he's just going to take it no matter what you say. 214 CS, 35 CS up, 6-0 Cassiopeia. Very strong here for Udak. And a nice mirrored score there for Daddy Fred's Kha'Zix, 4-0 and 6. We see them push, as you say, rightly so, straight into this topside jungle, trying to play it as by the book as they can. Noodles returning an ever-present push in power in that bot lane, and the grouping around mid and top, just keeping those waves pushed in. You see complete ward domination here from Milk. Just look at those pink wards and blue wards. I don't think there's a spot of red in that jungle. You wouldn't think it belonged to them.
And we're gonna have to, there's so little options for them there. You see him move the control wards up so far into the enemy jungle because he knows there's no way to actually go for these. It's much too hard to face check into, especially to face check into Udak. Udak, if someone face checking to them, they're dead. Whoever they are, Popeye, Peters, and My Suffering, it doesn't matter if they're a tank or not. It doesn't matter if they're multiple people or not. They will definitely die. So they're definitely very scared to face check, and they're gonna have to use the Ezreal ultimate more than anything else. Maybe the Rek'Sai Tremor Sense, which might come in handy for that. Noodles doing a lot of damage. Great split pushing on his side.
Nice trade in there by Noodles. But the Karma will be there to assist, and Shen backs off. But again, drawing that pressure, just keeping these waves pushing in. They're just delaying it out now to that Baron. 54 seconds, 51, 50 seconds now. 42 seconds also on this 4th dragon, which we don't quite know what that is. We're just going to check. It's a Cloud Dragon. We don't need one of those. But the Baron will be coming up in 40 seconds now, and you see the stall out has just keeping them netted in, taking their jungle, making sure their farm is limited strictly to the lanes that they are soaking up. Popeye Peters running forward here and gets halted by the death sentence of Daddy Mike. You shall not pass, he says. And we see York now dropping back towards that Baron. Shen pushing almost onto that inhibitor turret now, just drawing so much pressure. And I think if they're ready to go, this could be a very quick Baron indeed with those 2 Mountain Drakes.
And the fact that AU Fault has been the one to try and stop that Shen split push, I think, is a problem because he doesn't have teleport on his side, and they definitely need him to land that wombo combo shockwave where the group is at the moment. They're just 2-manning Baron between.
Baron has spawned, and we see Daddy Fred and Daddy Shane just 2-manning it quietly, zoning off from Udak, selling the fake here already. Daddy Fred taking quite a lot of damage, but they're easily able to swap in another man to tank it up, and the Baron has just disappeared in favour of York. 2nd Baron for them of the game, extending their gold lead to 12,500 gold now, and they'll be looking to close out here, I think, by pushing these lanes in with that Baron. Daddy Fred, though, he's looking to close out Ed My Suffering's life. He's just had to flee with his tail between his legs, immediately lost half his HP. That's the power of Kha'Zix when he gets ahead. Black Cleaver, Yomu's Ghostbleed, Warrior, full pen, full CDR, and an immense amount of damage from Daddy Fred there.
Yeah, now for Lancaster, there's very few outs. There's
Daddy
oh,
Shane,
there's
though,
a
he's
good
going to
ult.
be caught, though. He's going to be completely caught out. He does manage to get the arrow off as he dies, and Udak is on the rampage now. The R
This
is
might be
not
it.
available to him, but he's going to try and get Pollard here.
Ooh.
Will eventually go down, ticks out to Deathfire, touch there. Daddy Mike is going to be coming in. Ice B looking for a hook on someone, hits a minion, though. Popeye Peters takes 3/4 of his health bar. He's supposed to be a tank. He's got magic resist, but it doesn't matter to Udak. Udak demolishing him. His health bar there. And just like that, it's a 2-for-1 trade. A catch by AU4 onto Daddy Shane, but it's going to open up an inhibitor tower. And well, that is going to really put Lancaster in a tough spot now with those super minions pouring into mid lane.
It most definitely is. Although it is a good catch by AU Fault, you can't use your ultimate on just one carry, especially if it's not Udak. If it was Udak, maybe I'd see that be the case. But it isn't, and it's just on a Daddy Shane who's just played a very strong utility role. He's landed a few arrows, but the real superstars of this show have been Udak, have been Daddy Fred, who've worked together as a synergy. As you pointed out earlier, they have mirrored score, and there's a good reason for that. They've always been together, going for that mid-jungler synergy, and really tearing apart this team of Lancaster.
Daddy Fred earlier, keeping Jason safe, keeping Udak safe in that mid lane in the early stages of that matchup, and Jason repaying him in full with a dominating performance on Cassiopeia here. 8-0-4, 263 CS, 30 minutes. That's going to be a fourth dragon. They will pick up that win, Drake, as the Baron grinds to a halt on York's side, but with such an unassailable lead. Is there any way Lancaster come back from this?
The 15k gold lead is going to be one hell of a shockwave to make me change my mind on this.
So we've already had one nice one, but little more than 3 men and more than once, I think, will have to be required if Lancaster stand any chance.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be a last-ditch effort team fight. I expect one last push to come through, but there are some big items coming again. Void Staff again for Udak. There's going to be a GA on the Kha'Zix, a GA on the Shen, a Redemption on the Thresh. It's a power spike.
And even if you thought the Shen and the Kha'Zix were hard to kill before, the GAs are definitely going to make it more difficult. 15,000 golden lead, 31 minutes now, and it looks like York might be heading up for that final push. Noodles, ever faithful, returns to the top lane, pushing that lane in, creating that pressure. Super Minions will be doing their job in the mid lane, and it's up to the team now to see if they can manage out this final split. Popeye Peters, though, he's almost going to get death sentence out of that Northern Stretch line, but a nice land of the arrow. Udak is legendary, 9-0-4.
That ult!
An incredible land, but it's not even going to matter. Udak gets 2. Udak will take 2. Daddy Fred will take 2. AU4 flashes away. AU4, who's going to get the triple kill? It's going to be Daddy Fred. Triple kill for Daddy Fred. 7-0-8 on that Kha'Zix. York close out the bot lane, close out the inhibitor, close out game 1, and taking on a 1-0 lead in this League of Legends series.
Absolutely insane. The Orianna ult was not enough to carry them through it. It's going to be 1-0, as you said, for York. There's a second game, and now I think we're definitely going to want to see Cassio off the stage.
1-0 for 20 kills to 4, 10 turrets to 1, 32 minutes. Quite a quiet game, honestly, by the URY team standards. But they'll be taking their game 1 lead into the series now.
And hello and welcome back. So we just had the first game of the League of Legends FAGSOC versus Luges Roses eSports 2017. A pretty dominating affair, I think it's fair to say. So Gary, what are your thoughts on that game?
We'll start with pick and ban. No surprises. I think we predicted the first pick Shen, the Lulu ban.
Ivan got banned out as well.
Yeah, Ivan ban. I think both teams did get the comp they wanted.
Yeah.
I think
Lancaster were trying to eliminate a roaming playstyle from mid lane by banning Orion LeBlanc, but Jason's Cassiopeia is really strong as well.
Yeah.
And I think with the jungle pressure top lane on the Rek'Sai, it was pretty ineffective with the double tank. And then when Rek'Sai was top lane, the bot lane was overextending a river and got caught out and killed.
Yeah.
So I think the jungle priority was pretty poor, and they didn't play around it well either.
yeah, I can agree. I think once you opt into the tank versus tank matchup and the tank jungle as well, there's no way you're going to have enough damage to kill the Shen. They couldn't even blow summoners. It was just they did not play to the strengths of their team comp at that point. Bot lane, I think for Lancaster, they had a quite good start, and they recognised the pressure that Cassiopeia would have mid lane, so Ori was playing safe. But with no jungle assistance, it was a difficult matchup for her. She did get low quite early, and she was able to stay in lane long enough to farm up a bit, but it wasn't very effective. And then there was the solo kill.
Yeah, the solo kill after the early pressure which burned the Shen ult really did open the game up.
Yeah,
The fact that Karma did not change to sweeper until 20 minutes in, it made it extremely hard for them to deny vision, which allowed the Kha'Zix and Cassiopeia in the 5 to 15 minutes to actually get a lot of pressure into their jungle. Because Rek'Sai did not build any health when Tiamat first was really squishy and got caught out multiple times.
Yeah, and the Shen ult bot in the first fight, Nautilus tried to interrupt it with the ult. It kind of followed him, then poofed out, but it looked funny.
Yeah, didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then Kha'Zix, as soon as he hit level 6, evolves Q, solos Infernal Drake. Smart play. Yeah, solos jungler soon after. So, yeah. It was... and there was the Oriole that missed as well. It was a bit of a shame.
The Baron, I think the Baron at 21 minutes was quite dangerous.
Yeah.
It was
no one on York had any armor.
So I was going to ask you guys, with that Baron core, obviously it went, quite in Lancaster's favour in that fight. What do you think, because, unfortunately, Microsoft managed to pick up the Dragon, which, if they hadn't, it probably would have been quite a good bonus in trying to get back into the game. But what do you think Lancaster really, what do you think they should have done to try and get back into the game after they won that Baron team fight?
I mean, they won the Baron team fight, but they still had Baron on the 2 strongest members of the team, which meant they could hold with the minions against any push. But obviously, the Frags Up team couldn't use the momentum from the Baron because they'd lost it on Shen, who was their main split pusher. So it was for the Lancaster team to get those 3 kills was a nice bonus. Unfortunately, the Dragon Steel did shut down any momentum they might have got out of it.
Yeah, there was a bit of miscommunication there. They did start to drag it out, and then they didn't pull it out far enough. Kha'Zix was able to get it with the W, and I think Lancaster's strength was their bot lane early.
Yeah,
I think even into mid lane they were doing quite well. But then Cassiopeia just got so much damage.
Yeah. So do you think part of it then maybe Lancaster they just needed to potentially put more pressure early on with the jungler, try and get something down on that Cassiopeia and stop her from basically snowballing out of control?
I definitely think the jungle pressure was misguided by Lancaster. Either mid or bot, try and put bot lane ahead so you can actually play around that instead of trying to force the tank versus tank with tank jungler top lane. It just wasn't working out.
Yeah. Now, can I just very quickly ask you to come into the camera slightly more?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Just that way I can move it. And there we go. Lovely. So, Gary, what do you think as well? Because I feel like the jungle pressure, it just wasn't necessarily in the right places at the right times, if you know what I mean.
No, I think there was the early pressure top, and then by that time, Cassio had been able to just free farm, to get the early kill, and then she could kill anyone she found. So maybe if they want to do a similar team comp, they will need to be more aware of the mid, or maybe even try and play around their bottom, because their bottom did get 10 CS ahead early. And,
that's true. Well, that's true, and also with the top lane as well, throughout the whole game, Shen had quite a CS deficit actually. I think by one point in 20 minutes he was 40 CS behind by not a lot of us. So, it does seem like there were some kind of mistakes that were being made by the Frags. They were by no means perfect, but again, it just seems like Lancaster, I think at points they weren't necessarily working as a team best. What do you think?
I think early game, obviously, Kha'Zix went Tracker's Knife, managed to get a lot of deep vision in the Lancaster jungle, which gave them vision of Rek'Sai near blue buff and by the Raptor camp multiple times, which meant that anything Rek'Sai did try to force bot side just didn't work. But also, after the Baron, obviously you said York weren't perfect. After the Baron went a bit dodgy, they did stall out a lot until the second Baron. I mean, they controlled the vision well, but then directly after that, Shane got shot by the one shot, which losing the ADC as the primary pusher slowed it down a lot. They still managed to get the inhib and break the base on the second Baron, but they definitely could have tried to be a bit more proactive, I think, in between.
Yeah, I would say York definitely played more discipline after the first Baron.
Yeah.
They were
a lot less risk.
Lancaster did not have any wards anywhere near that second Baron. York had already cleaned them out. It was just, very disciplined game, very clean finish.
No, fair enough. I think another problem, it seemed like Lancaster, well, maybe, again, you mentioned already the vision game, not quite as strong, whereas, Frags, you kept seeing, whenever they were getting kills, they were just putting vision wards into, or even sight wards into the jungle. And I think, Gary, I think the vision was quite an important part in a lot of ways of them clenching that victory as well.
Yeah, and that even shows from the beginning of the game. Kha'Zix got a ward down at Raptors. Sorry, what are they called now? Rigs?
Raptors.
Raptors, yeah.
And a blue buff.
Yeah, so they knew all the time when Rek'Sai was where he was at the start of the game. York, just standard split out defended.
On both sides, I'll say late sweep upgrades. Both junglers had Sightstone and Warding Totem, which is pretty bad. And both junglers, I don't think Rek'Sai ever changed.
Yeah.
Which once you're getting caught early and you can't get rid of the vision, you're just not going to have an impact.
I think that also speaks to Lancaster's comp. They can't really do much from behind. They did kind of depend on either getting ahead in the early game or at least staying even.
They tried to make picks, but with Orianna, Ezreal as your damage sources, it's not spectacular by any means.
I mean, we've mentioned the top focus. Like, even if you do get Shen behind, it doesn't matter. He still has his ult, he still has his taunt, he's still 2 TPs basically.
Nautilus isn't going to suddenly win or something by getting it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if we're going to talk just very briefly about the draft again for one moment, I've heard quite a few, utterings in the crowd that maybe there wasn't enough damage on the Lancaster tide because, you know, obviously the Cassiopeia is someone you need to kill very fast in a team fight. So
I think the Ezreal pick, it was a blind Ezreal pick. I think that was pretty ill-advised. It was safe for sure, and they did win lane, but then they got behind. He finished Trinity for like 25 minutes, and at that point, it was the primary damage source on the team. That's not enough.
No, he was barely tickling the Shen by the end of the game just because of how behind they got. An unfortunate game, but there were some positives, like we said. The bot lane did fairly well early.
Yeah, the laning phase, apart from mid lane, there was some definite kind of, you know, to be honest, it looked like in the laning phase, especially early on, Lancaster was really getting ahead, especially in terms of CS. So, you know, in terms of looking to the next game, Gary, what do you think we're going to be? What do you think? What kind of changes should Lancaster be making right now?
I think if Lancaster do pick the same comp, they need to change where they put their jungle pressure. I would also like to see them try and take it, because if they do not ban Shen, York are probably going to pick it again. So Lancaster should try and do something about it. Yeah, Lancaster are first pick, so they're probably going to want Lulu if it's not banned, which it will be. I was kind of surprised we didn't see Xayah.
Yeah.
I thought that might have been pulled out. I guess they wanted a more well-known quantity.
I think it probably would have been more reliable. I think it would have been better than Ezreal. Ezreal is like reliable, but sometimes he's just not enough.
Yeah, I think they did show that they can bring something more aggressive early to the bot lane.
Yeah.
I mean, the early game wasn't the explosive start we expected, but I mean, once that solo kill happened mid lane, it did start to.
I mean, we saw at the start of the game as well, both sides had quite a, especially Flagstock, a very kind of passive sort of defensive start. We saw Lancaster group up at mid, looking like they weren't going to try and get a pick, but there was no attempts to really sort of, even in the early game just after that, try and seize an advantage. So, you know, do you think maybe Lancaster might try varying up their style now to try and take something early on and avoid getting outscaled?
Yeah, I think they definitely had more comfort picks this time. I think now that they know, like, they have to win this game, they may as well go all out. I want to see either a more, like, aggressive early team comp, or maybe something York aren't expecting.
Maybe a Heimerdinger?
They will get banned, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I think York might want to see it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry, go on.
You did win Dota.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of space here.
True.
Could maybe see that Heimerdinger.
I've got some picks.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it. It definitely made things quite interesting, I have to admit.
Yeah.
So, Gary, in terms of looking to the next game now, then. So, what are Lancaster thinking? You know, are they going to be trying to, trying to get that Lulu if they can, but probably won't. You know, what kind of changes to their team comp will they be making?
I think they will want to just have something that's more aggressive early.
Yeah.
I think York will also feel safe to be more aggressive early as well. Like, start of the last game, both teams were just kind of feeling each other out.
Yeah.
So I think maybe more bloodthirsty game, even though we did have a lot of kills that game anyway. It will be should be fun. I do want to see the Heimerdinger. Yeah. Because, you know, how often do we get to see Heimerdinger?
Very true. That's very true. And also, if he is, a comfort pick, you might as well go for it. What have you got to lose, right?
Yeah, like, how often do you get to play Heimerdinger at Roses?
Exactly.
Maybe once.
Well, maybe once.
Maybe once. And what do you think in terms of, just trying to, I suppose, in just terms of the mindset that Flagshot will be thinking with in terms of the next game, what sort of things to do right? What things are they going to think they're going to need to change next game to try and avoid, the smooth slip-ups they definitely did have.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the jungler from Lancaster kind of wastes the early pressure, they can feel quite safe again. I don't think that'll happen. But yeah, just a bit more secure vision around the Baron if you're going to try and force it.
I think the Kha'Zix ban might be an idea.
Kha'Zix ban's quite likely. I think then Graze or Lucin will come out, and those can actually be more aggressive early than Kha'Zix.
That's true.
So that could present its own problems.
What do you think about the Nautilus pick at top against Shen, by the way?
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of Nautilus. He got nerfed this patch, where his mana costs got increased a lot.
Yeah.
I would have expected something like a Gragas, probably. He is better percentage base damage, he's better against tanks. I think he pushes better, and he is easier teamfight utility with his, or not easier, but more effective teamfight impact with his ultimate.
You can't really rely on the
Kill like Cassia that game. Audio output, nice.
Well, at least we've got an overlay now.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we're back.
There we go.
And we're back. Okay,
So was that a sign? Are they going to pick Clifford the Big Red Dog?
might be an idea.
But yeah,
Is
I
there a
think
dog character in
Warwick?
League of Legends? Warwick, that's true.
He is stronger
pretty
after his
decent.
rework. We could see that in the jungle.
Potential jungle pick.
I mean, to be fair, it wouldn't actually be the worst pick in the world. I mean, I think they're going to need a proactive, jungle attitude. That's
Warwick
really
is
what we're going to just have to
particularly
see from
proactive,
Lancaster.
So it's slightly more aggressive than Rek'Sai, I think. For sure.
Yeah, I want to see hero kill hero. Let's channel some Moscow 5.
Always good, always good. Yeah. Oh, those are the days. I miss that. That was as soon as I started getting into League of Legends. That was when Moscow 5 had their big. Was it Kiev or Katowice? I can't quite remember where they just exploded onto the scene.
And then became Gambit.
And then became
Good
Gambit.
times.
And then they retired and all lived happily ever after.
Yeah, that's how we tell it.
Indeed. But yeah, no, okay. So I think at the moment it was a one-sided affair. I think it has to be said, but really, I think Lancaster, they should not be too disheartened because
Their early game was decent.
Exactly.
Apart from a few
Honestly,
slippers.
it was actually genuinely much better than a lot of people probably thought it would have been. I was actually
I was surprised.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. So really, I think there are definitely some kind of positives they can take from that game. So I suppose in terms of the early on in the next game, Gary, do you think there's anything in particular Lancaster, any kind of strategies they should be looking to put into place, I suppose, to deal with that?
I think if they do pick a comp with like a lot of level 1 CC, like they had the Hammer, they had the Nautilus, they should definitely look to invade, or at least they need to cover the jungle entrances better.
Yeah.
Because Kha'Zix literally just walked in and warded.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, vision control and vision denial needs to be a priority, or else they'll just get snowballed on again.
I think maybe even also just active communication with the team, because there was a point when Rek'Sai went top, and then the bot lane was caught out in the river.
Yeah,
and
that was.
It's those kind of small slip-ups that can actually lead to like a decent amount of gold enough to actually snowball into a
That
dragon.
did more or less negate the bot lane lead from the early game, which is unfortunate.
I think they kind of forgot that Chenault was a thing.
Yeah.
Because they were initially winning the 2v2.
Quite awkwardly, but it didn't make much of an impact. That was after the flash out, which definitely not an optimal Chenault. They burnt it out, but then obviously mid got solo killed, and they didn't play around their jungle pressure.
Do you think the Cassio popping off so early would have been different if the Oriole hit? Or was it already too late?
I think it was already too late. Cassio still had a flash, and the dots might. Not sure. I think he was running Storm Raiders as well, so he would have been. Especially with Ghost against Barrier, you don't get away from Cassio like that.
I do think it is likely we will see Oriana again though.
Yeah, I think Oriana will be.
I mean, it certainly did seem to work quite well, and there was obviously the moment at Baron, the Oriole pretty much won them the team fight. A huge amount of damage.
Oriana is always a useful team.
Exactly. So definitely something. Oh no, I don't want to hear my voice. Definitely something they can, try and go into anyway. So Gary, in terms of first 3 priority picks for the next game for Lancaster, what are they?
I think it's going to be the Lulu again, but I don't think it's going to get through. I would like to see someone more aggressive bot, so maybe not Ezreal, maybe even like Varus or Caitlyn. If you compare Caitlyn with a push support and get some wards down to find the York jungler, they might be able to just take control of that bot lane.
Fair enough. And Niall, on your side, what do you think are the first 3 kind of things that Flagstock are going to be looking to get most in this game?
They're red sides, so obviously they don't get first pick on whatever's left open, but they'll pick up an early aggressive jungler like Graves or Lee Sin. Kha'Zix if he's open, but I doubt he will be. And decent support, so Karma probably because Lulu will be banned, and you won't first pick Karma. I think that would be a really effective first few picks. And then just secure ADC. Get your solo lanes late. Unless Shen's open.
So essentially, Lancaster change up their bans a bit. Maybe they might be less scared of Lee Sin than the Kha'Zix. I don't know. Do you think York need to change their bans at all, or are they happy with what they have?
Heimerdinger, Ivan, Lulu. I mean, you don't have to. Actually, yeah, probably still the same. To be honest.
Yeah, I do not think the York jungler plays.
No, I don't think. No, I haven't seen it from him. I wouldn't expect.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about what we can look forward to in the next game? Starting with Niall.
I mean, hopefully, if we can get better vision and better jungle priority early game, it should be a lot closer for a lot longer. Hopefully, make it more exciting later.
Fair enough. And Gary?
Yeah, I think both teams won't be playing as safe early. They've felt each other out now. I'm expecting way more aggression early. So we'll have to see if Lancaster can bring it into a clown fiesta.
Hello, welcome back. Roses 2017, Game 2. Put that slide whistle away. And
Oh god.
and here we go. That's our good friend Daddy Fred on your bit. Looks like we are ready to go. Both teams seem to be chomping at the bit for Game 2, and we were just talking about there before the stream closed out. That Cassiopeia going through for Udak and being pretty monstrous in the mid lane is fair to say. So trying to shut him down could definitely be a priority for Lancaster as we get into this second game with the pick ban phase. And it's Lancaster this time on the blue side. Popeye Peters, Ed Myself for an AU4, I'm Grumpy, and Polideer versus York on the blue side. 1-0 up in the series. Noodles, Daddy Fred, Udak, Daddy Shane, Daddy Mike. 3 daddies once more.
Straight up, we going for the Ahri and the Heimerdinger ban, so the exact same bans as last time in the same order. I really want to see this Cassiopeia ban. I don't think they can deal with it with a favorable matchup. They weren't able to. Maybe
I think perhaps there is the possibility that AU4 is a Cassiopeia player. He may want to take it away from himself. Do have blue side coming in for Luges, so we definitely could see them want to prioritise a champion they want. I don't know what's going on there in the life, but it's really killing me. And so we'll have to see what the final ban is. So far the bans have been identical. Ahri and Lee Sin for Luges, Heimerdinger and Ivan for Lancaster.
There's the Cassiopeia ban.
At last the Cassiopeia ban does come in for Luges. The respect finally being shown for Udak.
Are we going to see some jungle bans perhaps?
Perhaps a jungle ban, perhaps still priority I think on Lulu perhaps, or Shen maybe for the York team.
They banned Ezreal last time, right?
Ezreal they banned, I'm not sure what they banned. No, they banned.
No, they banned LeBlanc.
They did ban. No, blue side banned LeBlanc, yeah, and I'm not sure what York banned.
They picked Ezreal.
Yes, that was the pick for Luges. Not going too well though for I'm Grumpy.
And there's
name face. Team being Hoven, I'm not sure it's going to be because the Shen pick away being Hoven, and that will be locked in for Lancaster. A good takeaway there from Noodles.
Most definitely. I don't know how well Popeye Peters plays it, but most definitely the Shen is a good takeaway. Not quite the Cassiopeia takeaway, but at the same time, Udak has shown that he is very capable of going even in horrible matchups, keep on his toes and actually win. The Shen takeaway is going to be a good way to try and outplay in terms of macro the York University team, which as we saw last time was actually a really good macro playing team. But Trundle might be a good answer into that.
Trundle being hovered here by Noodles, a favourite of his I can tell you, and he will be he will really want to be picking this, so we'll have to see if it does get locked in. Still waiting for a hover from Danny Fred on what the second pick for York could be. Ezreal is the switch now for Noodles. That's going to be picked up by him potentially for the AD carry position. That will be Shane playing that one out. Daddy Fred hovering the Graves, which is open. Both junglers, Kha'Zix and Graves, were open despite the massive Kha'Zix performance in Game 2 by Daddy Fred. It looks like they'll go for the Graves along with that Ezreal. Going on to Daddy Shane in the bot lane.
And Graves is such a strong jungler right now in the hands of Daddy Fred, who already had like an absolute outstanding game on Kha'Zix. I'm sure that on a farm powerhouse on this Graves, he'll definitely be able to shake things up quite a bit. As you'll lock in early, I'm not quite a fan of. Although I do understand taking it away from Grumpy, trying to limit his champion pool, it makes sense. These hovers, I really do hope go through just for the sake of variety.
It would be very interesting. Rammus and Twisted Fate are the picks currently being hovered. We don't see a lot of Rammus or Twisted Fate these days, but always the potential to cause some trouble. But it looks like they'll be going back towards the more meta pick and actually picking up the Kha'Zix for themselves, potentially Lugers. And my suffering hovering that one over to go with the Orianna of AU Fault. We'll just have to see if they lock it in, and he switches it up to the LeBlanc, and really going to be setting a challenge for himself here, because LeBlanc, that potentially really hard carrying champion, is now in the hands of AU Fault and against Daddy Udak in the mid lane.
Yeah, with a slight Mordekaiser hover in the meantime. As you said, LeBlanc, extremely strong assassin in this meta. Very strong roamer. Has lots of capabilities to just tear apart the map by herself. Kha'Zix alongside that is definitely going to be able to potentially, follow up on that, but he has to top Daddy Fred's performance on Kha'Zix, and that might be hard to do. Although LeBlanc is probably going to be the best champion in the mid lane to enable that. Udak might respond to for his own Orianna, and I would love to see the sort of banter between the teams trying to, outdo themselves on their respective champions. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yes, looks like we've got 10 seconds left now. Nautilus and Orianna, again, very defensive champions being set up here, and really, this is the quality of the team here showing, I think. Having Udak being able to drop immediately into that supportive mid laner role, playing Orianna, and Nautilus, Daddy Shane picking up Nautilus for Noodles, enabling Daddy Fred really to take front and center with that Graves, with the protection of Nautilus as his front line, with the Orianna ball always keeping him safe, giving him that magic resist, that armor, that shield, and always ready to shockwave any incoming opponents. That Graves will be well set up to be a strong power farmer jungler and carry this game, and that really is the quality they're showing. Instantly able to switch their focus from the mid lane to the jungle in terms of who's going to be prioritizing that farm and who's going to be carrying. So I really like the lineup here.
It's
From York.
It's a very tanky lineup, which really poses quite a threat for the Kha'Zix pick. And oh my god, the Zyra Khan bot lane pickup.
The instant double lock from I'm Grumpy and Polydeer. We have seen them playing this a few times in the OP.GGs, and this could just be the switch up they need to take this forward. Zaya and Rakan picked together that AD carry and support new champion duo. I don't know a lot about these champions, I'm going to be honest, so it's going to be a very interesting game for me, but from what I've seen, they're both looking pretty strong. When combined together in the bot lane, those feathers and those that bird theme really carrying through, because they are just able to take off and really do some damage.
Ooh, I love the analogy. I'm going to be able to fill you in on the Zyra Rakan, although I've been playing a lot of Rakan to very little success. I know that the champion itself is good. Not quite as good as Zaya. Zaya, I know a few people would disagree with me, but she's an extremely strong late game main carry. Really easy to pop and burst very squishy targets such as the Ezreal. And even though the Ezreal is not going to be the primary target in this game, as you mentioned, the Graves really going to be the front line is really going to be at the forefront of all the damage in this team alongside this Orianna. Zaya is going to be able to dodge the Orianna ult, dodge the Nautilus ult, so she's hard to take down. LeBlanc should be able to dart around. There's a lot of tools to outplay them, if you will.
A lot of outplay potential on the side of Lugers, but meanwhile we see on York's team just a nice well-rounded composition, strong tank in the top lane, supportive melee, supportive support, double shield, double utility, really strong right now, and really setting up the two carries, goodbye stream, Graves and Ezreal, to carry potentially this team if they're able to get themselves together. But the spectator delay started, so we will be getting this game very soon. Second game of Roses 2017 League of Legends, and if York take this, there's going to be a lot of pressure here on Lugers, because if York one game up in the series already, if they take this game, they will secure the early win in Roses with a flat 2-0, an unassailable 2-0 advantage in the overall series, and will pick up those points for York in the competition. So a lot of pressure, I think, now on Lancaster.
It'll be a magnificent clean sweep from York. I believe that would be 3 points awarded to York for their esports.
It is 4.
It is 4 now. Okay,
Yes,
fair enough.
4. We were trying to get it actually to be a set amount of points for each game, which I think would have been nice, but as it stands, the Roses committee has ruled, and it will be whoever wins the 2 games out of 3 will take all 4 of those points. York obviously taking the Dota earlier, and we start to see it's going to play later. But let's talk about Zaya Rakan, 2 newest champions on the Rift. Strong synergy of theme, aesthetic, and gameplay. What do we hope to see here? Because we've got a very standard kind of defensive bot lane, Ezreal Karma, very, very common, especially in places like Korea, and that's on the side of York. Lancaster looking to go all in here, looking really to kind of switch things up. Last game, potentially, if they can't pull something out of the bag. And is this Zaya Rakan pick going to enable them to really switch things up and potentially take this game through?
I think this is probably their best option for a surprise pick. They can pick, out of meta stuff, and that can be surprising to a certain amount. But these players are experienced. They've played against a multitude of champions. They're not, they'll never be as inexperienced as they are against Zaya Rakan, who have just come out. And no one knows really how to play very well against them. If you're not used to being able to dodge your feathers, then suddenly you found yourself in a losing lane and losing heavily. And you don't want to see his Zaya snowball out of control because it gets very hard to shut down because of the self-peel it has. And I think it is honestly the best pick they could look for in the bot lane at least, to try and surprise, to have this X factor that if Danny Shane and Danny Mike don't know how to play against, will be punished severely for, especially since I'm going to be in Collier, both have practiced these champions quite extensively.
Indeed, they are very well prepared for this matchup. They're very well prepared for the series, and despite being a game down, they'll be definitely looking to take it to York in game 2. 30 seconds now before we are going to be getting into the action here at Roses 2017, and honestly, it was quite a one-sided game in game 1, as we saw, but as you say, these very potentially snowbally out-control champions in the bot lane, together with the assassins, the real damage potential here from LeBlanc, from Kha'Zix, from Zaya, and the protection from Shen to support them on their aggressive plays, could really see a much more aggressive approach from Ludas, and maybe that will net them the game. We will have to find out as we get into the loading screen.
Yeah, and the map resets, now it's a clean game, everyone's got a shot at this, and it's going to be a lot about player mentality, how Lancaster bounces back mentally, because that was a crushing defeat. It was quite, as you said, a one-sided game, and it's going to be about, cleaning that mental slate, going like, this is what messed up. We banned the Cassiopeia. We took away the aggressive junglers. Now we're going to play our game. We've got these amazing bot lane picks that they probably didn't expect or maybe didn't practice for. If we got a shot, it's now. And that's the mentality you really want to have. And that's the mentality I like to see in this team. And I really do hope they bring out a strong performance here.
Yes, we will have to see if they are able to come toe-to-toe with York in this second game. So we look across the skins. Always a nice thing to look at, the skins. It's currently 3-3, so that's a draw on the skins. No skins on the new champion, either of the new champions. Not quite. But they do get, I guess they'll get bonus points for their base skin synergy, looking very nice with their portraits next to each other there. So I think we'll give the skins and the portraits line up slightly in favour of Lancaster, but hopefully for us, not the game advantage. So coming out, some of the spells in the mid lane I'd quite like to touch on. Ignite for LeBlanc. That's not messing. AU4's not going to be messing around. He won't be happy with those solo dead. He died a couple of times to Jason, to Udak solo in a matchup that he was supposed to be winning. He will not be happy with that, and it looks like he's out for blood. Meanwhile, Udak countering with that barrier. So potentially a lot of explosive action in the mid lane coming out of AU4. Will Udak be able to hold against the pressure, do you think?
Udak showed us that in the losing lane, he was already quite capable of pulling the team together and really carrying the team as well. I think that's all we can say about his performance last game. And AU4 needs to prove that he is, rising up to the challenge. We saw in the loading screen that he is level 7 Mastery LeBlanc now. Take what you will, that means he has carried games in the past, and he knows how to play his champion, he's experienced on his champion. And this is, as he flashes it again now in base, he needs to show us now that he can actually bring this forward. And there's a few ways he can do that. As you mentioned, the Ignite pickup is a really good tell that for lane he wants to really put the pressure on Udak, but he can also put the pressure in bot lane. He's a very strong roamer, and Polygear also has that Ignite. So they're all looking for blood, and they're all looking to prove that they have what it takes to take down the York. They're meeting up mid, as it seems.
It looks like we are going to be getting into the game, and as you say, it looks like it could be very, very aggressive coming out from Lancaster, looking to even up the series 1-1, to potentially turn the tables on York in this Roses series. For now, though, we did see a little bit of aggression into the mid lane. Did anyone pick up some gold? Mikey, Daddy Mike picked up 8 gold on his spell thief, so a crushing advantage for York already. 8 gold in the bag for him, and be able to go back and buy not very much at all with that.
Hopes and dreams.
But nevertheless, a standard default start. Again, we see just having all entrances covered. Both bot lanes. There's some wonderful dancing in in dance spam in the bot lane tri-brush there from Zaya and Rakan, Grumpy and Polydeer. And we see the junglers lining up towards their respective sides. Daddy Fred, it looks like both junglers actually will be looking to start on that red buff, looking immediately to get out on the map and potentially make some plays with those red buffs ticking. What do you expect to see in the jungle matchup here? Because Graves, Kha'Zix, two very strong for junglers now, two very high attack damage junglers, but quite different, I think, in the way they like to play.
Most definitely. Graves has a much easier time farming, basically takes no damage from the jungle, and although he's if you enable him with CC in the lane, he's a very strong ganker.
Like we're about to have a fight in the bot lane already. Into the tri-brush to get the cheese off the tri-brush cheese. I'm Grumpy is running away with barely any HP. Has to chug his potion, no summoner spells for, so that will, but they're going to have to go around the long way now. Rakan will be able to cheat through to lane, through the tri-brush, but that's a very big start for Daddy Shane. Daddy Mike really asserting their dominance in their bot lane already.
And that's definitely when you fight cheese with more cheese. You decide to go for that cheeky lane rush, and they're not even full health, so this might be a bit something to watch out for. They might get poked out. This is a Karma Ezreal lane, as you said in Korea. Very well used because it is such a powerful lane. It'll poke out any champions, really push the wave quite quickly with the Karma Qs.
Yeah, and already hitting that level 2 spike onto Shane. He's going to pick up some solid speed. Looks like he's going to be going very aggressive, but doesn't decide to arcane shot forward, which we might see from Shane occasionally from time to time. He does have an interesting methodology of using that arcane shot, but already 3 potions, that longsword 3 potions start, it doesn't look like she started with any that just disappeared. They're completely falling behind now already in this bot lane match of dominance coming out from York. Very, very different from the last game where they were being pushed in a little bit. Meanwhile, Udak is going to trade heavily back onto E4, not being intimidated by that LeBlanc going, and has a large health advantage and pressure advantage. 10 CS up already in both mid and bot lane at 3 minutes. York really looking to understand. Kha'Zix is going to attempt to gank here. Does get some good damage off onto Udak. He's going to flash away as Danny Fred comes in, and barrier a little bit overzealous there, I think, perhaps from Udak, but he does escape with his life. Daddy Fred is going to continue the chase onto Ed My Suffering. Ed My Suffering doesn't have E for another 5 seconds. He's going to go for the blast cone, escape over the wall, and a lot of aggressive plays being happened already in the first 3.5 minutes of this game.
Yeah, and you mentioned the junglers earlier and how they were going to have to interact and how they're very similar in their ways of, not quite in their ways of playing, how they definitely go about ganking for sure. And that was a prime example. They both wanted to gank that mid lane, really wanted to swing that matchup in the favor. And at the end of the day, Ed My Suffering really was the one that kind of pulled it out of the back match to get Udax out some summoners. And that's really important against LeBlanc that has both Flash and Ignite. She still has the kill pressure. She had problems getting pushed in, but really, Ed My Suffering came out with the correct play, and for just a flash on his behalf, I think he can be happy, especially since Daddy Fred also traded his flash trying to go for the chase.
Indeed, we'll have to see if that mid lane is a safe place for Udak. Here comes the arcane shot forward. I'm Grumpy, not with much health at all. Rakan going to knock up Daddy Shane there and just track away. Daddy Shane taking so much time for the Venzo. He's going to be ignited. Daddy Mike, the target switch is the thing. Daddy Shane's going to escape on 1 HP. Daddy Mike though, he's going to try and take down Grumpy on so much HP. The Q doesn't land, but Karma will pick up the first blood. Daddy Mike getting the kill onto Zaya there. Polydeer will escape with his life. All summoners blowing in the bot lane apart from Rakan's flash and Daddy Mike's flash, and just like that, it looked like that fight was going to be turned around there. But Daddy Mike managed to close it out in favour of Zaya.
And there you see the repercussions from that early bot lane cheese that we saw earlier. Honestly, if that didn't happen, if Zaya had her pots available to her,
suffering. He is
there
working
he
on the
is.
back. He's very, very tentative at the moment. Doesn't want to get. He's going to actually leap away from Daddy Mike, despite the fact he has no mana and they're going to just walk it back in the flash. I don't think that was well communicated because there was a free kill there to be had. But Am suffering, a little bit scared from earlier counter gank potential. They didn't see Graves until it was too late in the mid river on top side, and he's going to allow Daddy Mike, to escape with his life there, albeit at the cost of a flash.
Potentially a free double. Absolutely, you'd be correct. But it is quite shocking to see that Am Suffering didn't go for it. In the meantime, I'm Grumpy. Not too far behind, only one death, but he comes back with a Van Scepter, so these sorts of situations should not happen. Van Scepter 2 pots, he's really looking for that sustained lane. He doesn't want to get bullied again. And against such a heavy poke bottom lane, it is the correct choice in my opinion. The rest of the map kind of equal, but Udak really pressuring this LeBlanc in the mid lane. LeBlanc hasn't been able to make use of her flash or her ignite advantage. Summoner spells apparently seemingly not enough to stop Udak, who went for the double Dorns.
Indeed, 16 CS up, I can't count, at 6 minutes, and they're both going to return to lane now. That lost chapter being picked up for LeBlanc. We see a much more aggressive option of Ampton double Dorans ring from Daddy Jason. He will be able to keep his Udak, be able to keep his mana up with those Dorans rings, and hopefully try and keep himself a little bit safer. His flash will be coming up soon. His barrier's already out, and as you say, he seems to have passed the most dangerous part of the lane. For 6-5 though in favour of AFO, he's going to take that trade. That's exactly the kind of trade he needs to make. He needs to be trying to get that health down, trying to keep this game alive for Lancaster, because they're already 2,000 gold behind. CS leads across the lanes, and it's looking across every single role, in fact, apart from that bot lane, and it's looking like York coming out even stronger out the gate. 2,000 gold is 7 minutes.
Yeah, most definitely. York's still providing a very strong lane. I think most of it probably lies in the mid lane with that CS advantage and that one kill that they picked up, which was obviously the first blood. It is very disturbing to see AU fault again, kind of, well, faulting in the mid lane. He really needed to get rolling, to get the ball rolling. He has the tools for it. He just doesn't seem to be able to land them.
Oh, we will take a lot of damage there, though. Daddy Jason immediately turned around looking for that shockwave. Maybe fought wisely, backs away with half his HP. He does have a biscuit left, and I think he might be chugging one now, but he's definitely not in a good spot. Meanwhile, in top lane as well, Henry's talked about top lane, but Nautilus Shen, definitely a Nautilus favourite matchup. That ability to just push the wave in 2 Doran's rings and a corrupting potion, definitely able to keep his mana bar up, definitely able to keep that. Definitely able to keep the wave clear coming, and just has already gained a 15 CS lead, as well as keeping Popeye Peters slap bang on that tower. But he wants to use his Shen R, which he does have available, to ult away and protect his team. It will come at a massive cost to him in gold and XP from those minions crashing into the tower again and again.
And he's so free to really push that that top lane over and over because he has such good vision control provided by both his jungler and Udak in the mid lane. Udak shouldn't have the pressure, but actually does. Ooh, he might be in a bit of trouble.
Fight, though. It looks like AU4 is again going to go in for a trade, but Udak shrugs it off like it's nothing and deals so much damage. Half HP again for AU4. He does have that potion. Still, yeah, that's gone back though. He's already 20 CS down. He can't be forced back again. A nasty mantra Q there, in a flame, in a fire from from Danny Mike there, taking away a lot of HP. And whilst the CS lead has closed up a little bit in bot lane from the earlier, I think 20 was approaching at its peak, we still see dominant CS performances across the board for York at this 9 minute stage. 2,000 gold ahead still.
Yeah, and this is not where they wanted to be. They wanted a strong mid laner, they wanted a strong bot lane. Sadly, the bot lane was neutralized by that early gameplay that we saw. And AU fault, he's not doing the job in the mid lane. He needs to get out of that lane. Absolutely. He needs to make sure that he roams. They have a Shen. He's level 7. That level 6 on Shen should have been instant. They should have gone for something quicker. AU fault might be in a bit of trouble. He's gonna back off. Udak again. He has the blue buff. He actually stole off the blue buff. Oh, AU fall down.
Oh, sorry, I've been reading the matchup there, and just like that, Udak has disintegrated AU fall. He had the pressure again and again in that matchup and was just able to really provide so much damage. A beautiful shockwave coming in there, pulling him back at the last second, and Udak just dominating the performance there. 25 CS up and a kill now.
Udak once again showing he's the king of mid lane at the moment. AU needs to get out of this lane. As I said, this Shen and this LeBlanc need to get out of the lane. They need to make something happen. Make it bot lane, make it top lane. We don't care. We need to see something. We need to see some reaction from Lancaster because they're bleeding from everywhere, just from straight up laning phase, giving up solo kills. Now Udak has his summoners back up from the early gank. They managed to get nothing out of that, which is really a shame considering that my suffering was playing extremely well early in the game. There might be a dive bomb.
Yes, there was a flash available for AU Fault actually in that encounter, but simply chose not to use it. True Shot Barrage coming out from Ezreal there, just looking to really force the wave away from this tower, and this is exactly how you should be using the Graves. You don't even need to kill well.
There's the ult.
There's
the Shen ult.
He's going to flash around, show him up, Shane and Mike, a massive taunt, but they're not able to focus any of the damage on one person. AU Fault is coming in quicker than Danny Jason. No jungler though. Jungler is covering the top lane wave. The play looks all over
coming up. Oh, the collapse.
Here comes the TP in from Noodles. Udak's going to come around.
For the shockwave.
The shockwave just yet. He'll be up in a couple of seconds. Poly did desperately trying to buy time. Udak's going to come in. Poly did dashing around like a madman, but Danny picks up one.
There it is.
Danny Shane picks up a second. Oriana will pick up a third with that shockwave, and just as it looked like the Lancaster might be able to get some kills, here 3 come in for York on the turn. Danny Jason arriving at the pivotal moment, and it's 5-0 in favour. We've got 5,000 gold in 11 minutes, and they're going to turn their attention to Dragon. They have that bot lane tower, and they're fully in the driving seat for this game.
Absolutely, they're going for Dragon. That was an absolute beautiful collapse on the side of York Uni, and really a great disrespect coming from Lancaster. They tried to go for the play. There was a beautiful 3-man taunt, but Grumpy was zoned out of the fight instantly because of the poke that he received from both Ezreal and Karma earlier. And it's bad. Now it's gone really bad because their early game team, arguably, even though Zaya has a terrific late game, has been set behind oh so very far, and that was from just straight laning, and this was their first advantage. They had the Shen ult, and they weren't able to capitalize on it, and out of that, they maybe overstayed their welcome. Once you see that play doesn't go well, you know Udak's coming down, you don't see him pushing mid lane, so you definitely want to keep going.
Indeed, and it just turned south so quick for Lancaster. That was their big play, that was why they took the Shen away, that was why they took the crown for that big ulti synergy, and they got the tournament, but they just couldn't focus the damage. And York came in to punish them heavily for it. 5,000 gold ahead, 12 minutes gone. This team is absolutely dominating this series, and they're looking to close out Roses 2017 before we even get to the third game. Massive gold amounts accrued on both Oriana and Grace. 2,500 gold on Daddy Fred as he finishes up that final clear. He's 79 CS in 12 minutes, doing really well. We already see the rotation coming in. Bot lane switches to top lane goes to bottom, and we have a lone Zaya here with Noodles. Nautilus is going to land the dredge line straight out of it. He's going to go the full collar. 70%. He hasn't even needed to use the ulti, and he will use it just as Airscape blows him up with the depth charge there, taking no prisoners, and down to Davy Jones Locker goes I'm Grumpy.
I have a feeling I've seen this game before, Chill, and trust me, it did not end up well for Lancaster last time around. Oh, there's the shell.
Counter engage by
Come get something out.
Bot lane, Polly's here, and Popeye Peter's trying to do their best. Daddy Mike is going to be kiting away along with Daddy Shay. Looks like they might be able to try and turn it. The bind's going to come in. AU4 on the rotation. Daddy Fred is just behind him on the Graves. He's going to be coming in from the side. AU4 pass back to take one off. Whips the R, but it doesn't even matter. Smoke screen comes out along with that final ultimate charge. They're going to go hard under the tower here. Popeye Peter's going to go Daddy Fred. That's a nasty end of the line. It does spell the end of the line for Polly Deer, for Shen there, for Popeye Peters, for everybody. Triple kill for Daddy Fred. 4-0 and 2, and York are just cracking this game wide open.
And now it is a 7 to 8k gold lead coming in for York. Last time that happened, the game closed down very quickly. Daddy Shen's gonna look to extend that lane as they take down the top turret.
And yes, that top turret will be going down. They do finally close out their kills with objectives 2-0 in turrets, 9-0 in kills at 40 minutes. They have that Ocean Drake. Might turn their attention to Rift Out, might turn their attention to a second dragon. At this point, it's just so inconsequential. Daddy Fred, 4-0 and 2. Given the Graves, given the Kha'Zix, he's been having a hell of a series so far, and I don't think Lancaster troubles are going anywhere anytime soon. And Daddy Mike is going to find AU4, try and land that renewed W there, but he might have gone a little too deep here. Ignite goes down, he's going to tick away with not much help. Daddy Fred though is charging forward. Polyde's got nowhere to go. Daddy Shane will pick up his second kill of the game, and almost giving up the perfect game there, but Daddy Mike manages to walk his way out at the last minute, and yeah, Ezra will pick up that kill there. However, Ed myself in trying to make a half-attempted play there onto you. That went in. Here comes Daddy Fred. Instant fly. The stealth. The Shen so much burn just keeping up, and it doesn't even matter. He delivers the R through his teammate. Daddy Fred's looking for a dive again. He auto attacks him, and it doesn't matter. That's a double kill for Daddy Fred. 6-0 and 5 on the grade. This man is popping off. 84 and 1 HP. Daddy Shane with the flash. Arcane shot. Star points here. The first mid lane tower goes down. The second mid lane tower is going to. It's 10,000 gold at 15 minutes, Scarecrow. I don't think Lancaster are coming back from this one. This might just be Rose's 2017 wrapped up right now.
That might very well be the case. Daddy Fred on the absolute slaughter. 6-0 and 4. Watch out, Udak. You have a contender for MVP of the series.
That will be a very
Udak's
tough
not
one
the
to
carry
decide.
today.
2,000, 3,000 gold on the pair of them. They've just been able to farm, to push out their lanes, to get their camps, and then suddenly rotate, take towers, take kills, take everything from Lancaster. It's going to take an absolute miracle here, I think, for them to bring it back. Not one kill amongst them, barely 100 CS on any of them. So far behind. Is there any way back? Can we get a game 3? Is it going to happen?
Last game I was talking about that maybe that miracle wombo combo from Oriana. The Shockwave is a game turner. You might as well call it the equalizer. But in this game where you have skirmish, where you have skirmish-oriented champions, and where you have assassins, when they're met up with that tanky of a lineup that just snowballs out of control, and honestly a Daddy Fred that's popping off like you've never seen a Graves pop up before in solo queue. It's that is rude.
Cheeky still from Daddy Mike there onto the big Krug. He's going to be taking as much farm as his teammate Daddy Fred, 106 CS. He's desperate to catch up to one of the laners, I think, just so he can have that accolade to his name along with the rest of this game. Meanwhile, we see a solo Rift Herald take actually on by Daddy Fred. So strong, and Noodles will just be coming in to help him. Along with that, I'm sure that'll be a massive shockwave from Udak out absolutely nowhere. Cause it just deleted. Popeye Peters is gonna fly away. It looks like there might be some semblance of a counter engage, but they don't want to go for it. They're 2v4 here. Shane isn't even at the buff, and they're just not willing to fight at all. Grumpy takes half his HP from 2 abilities. Daddy Shane will be engaged on by 84, but he's not willing to follow it all the way. Daddy Mike ready there to help his teammate, and all this was happening whilst 2 of their teammates were taking Rift Herald. It's 3v5, and it's just domination, absolute domination from York here. 13,000 gold ahead. It has to be GG. It has to be it has to be an absolute miracle.
It has to be a lot of misplays.
I'll eat some item of clothing. I'll eat this suit. I'll eat this very nice suit that I've got and worn today. I will eat the whole thing if York lose right now, because this would be an absolute miracle. That's a guarantee right now. But meanwhile,
I'll eat everyone's suit at this rate.
More action coming out. The death charge is going to land. The death charge barely connects. Daddy Fred just eliminates the man's health by another dredge line landed onto Popeye Peters that he's going to get chased down. They're going to leave him burning. Not even going to take his life shot where lands on time. Grumpy's going to dodge nicely with his Zaya ult there. Polly did desperately trying to charm up their teammates, and we see double push here onto inhibitor. Mid inhibitor is going to go down. Bottom inhibitor is going to potentially go down as well. 3 members of the team there. 15-0. Is this York's perfect game? Is this the perfect way to close out Rose's 2017? 18 minutes. Let's hope Lancaster can keep on fighting. Mid lane inhibitor looks like it might just go down. Don't have any way of stopping it. Daddy Fred from taking it from the 84's desperately going to try to come in. Takes an auto attack worth 20% of his HP of 1 auto attack. That's absolutely madness. Mid inhibitor does go down, and they're going to look for that bottom inhibitor. There's no fight happening at all. There's just no way for the blue side to engage, and Lancaster 2 inhibitors down at 18 minutes, and it's really not looking good. For Lancaster right now.
I don't even think a lot of series of misplays could salvage this game anymore. As you mentioned, it's over 16k gold in the lead. There's almost 1k gold per minute. That's insane at this stage of the game. Except it's undescribable the amount of good play we've seen today, especially from Daddy Fred. Daddy Fred is popping off. He actually gets the back now. He actually gets to use the gold that he's just earned, and he's just gonna be an unstoppable force throughout this game. And, you know, when you see the Karma building Magi's this early on in the game, you know there's something wrong.
Some disrespect coming out, I think, from Daddy Mike there. Forced onto those utility meta picks. Thresh, no, Thresh maybe not so much meta, I'm not terribly familiar. The Thresh just such a comfort pick for him, providing that utility, providing that death sentence, and the Karma, definitely a strong meta pick, definitely fitting in with the team's mantra very well. This nice shielded composition. It's still, and we said it was going to set Daddy Fred up to carry, and it really has been an absolute massacre. He's going to go back to the shop. He's got 2,500 gold, 10,000 gold in 20 minutes. That's going to be Black Cleaver, that's going to be Phantom Dancer straight up, Berserker's Grease, and a Warrior Enchant. There's a very, very strong raise. Almost no armor on the side of Luges. They just can't afford it. They literally can't afford the armor. They don't have it. One pair of Ninja Tabe on Popeye Peter's Shen, and that's literally a massive shockwave. Polydeer is going to get flashed off by you. Like the flash isn't going to matter. He flashes there. He's on rampage. 404. Not by any means popping off like the Cassiopeia last game, but definitely doing his job in the melee, dominating that matchup and enabling Daddy Fred to really get all the kills here and get all the glory. And it looks like York are going to be going for glory now. 20 minutes into this game. 16 kills to 0, 8 towers to 0. This is the perfect game. Can they close it out? All the inhibitors down. They're going for every single tower. Dragon doesn't matter. Baron doesn't matter. Here comes the powered E. Popeye Peter's going to make this last ditch attempt. He's going to use the Shen E. He's going to come in. He's going to re-engage. Popeye Peter's 1 HP. Daddy Shade will get the auto attack, and that's the first kill. Polydeer dashing around, but to no effect. Everyone suffering doesn't have HP. Daddy Fred is charging, but Ungrab is going to Zaya flash out away. Doesn't matter. A nice ult from Polydeer, trying to desperately save his team. And Grumpy though is going to disappear. Polydeer is going to get wrapped on by Yuda. That's going to be a third kill. 3-0, 90-0. Can York get it? That's the first tower. That's the second tower. The Nexus is going to go down, and York are going to take the Roses series 2-0. They're going to take League of Legends 2-0 with a perfect game. 11 towers to 0, 19 kills to 0. York win Roses 2017. York win League of Legends. A fantastic performance from the York League of Legends team.
And the perfect game goes to York. Absolutely fantastic game from the side of York University.
The audience applause comes in now as seeing that victory screen. A phenomenal display from the York team. Just shy of 20,000 gold ahead at that 21-minute mark when the game ended, and a phenomenal performance from the York side. We saw Lancaster, credit to Lancaster, because they came out with a different composition, came out with a different approach, trying to get more aggressive, and they almost made work in the bot lane that time, but they just couldn't get the damage off together, and York just snowballed out of control from there.
Right, and we are live, and welcome back to Roses eSports 2017. So, we just had a perfect game. 19-0 was the final score. So, let's start with you, Niall. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think a lot of it was on the ball. They burned it down, but it's probably 2 questions. That they get down. And even though it's a successful gang off midlane, so much even though it's it did present a lot of problems.
Okay, do you have anything to add to that?
No, York were slightly more defensive things than last game, but they were able to show that York were more defensive things that game. They were able to show that the number one chase was obviously we did see the Fire Rakan. I think still don't think Rakan's that great. He had a nice ult at number 6. It was difficult. Yeah, it was a difficult one. They were still able to get the Lancaster did carry on hitting after Rakan and also which probably should have been happy to get air task making them sit back a bit. In the end, they overchased and gave 3 kills the first hour and the first trade, and gave them really nice base.
Yeah, I think Lancaster. We'll move a little closer.
I think Lancaster, they must have been listening to us because they did pick more aggressive.
That's true.
Which I can see. I was a bit sad that we did get the Heimerdinger back again. I would have liked to have seen Heimerdinger at Roses 2. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Certainly, or maybe another kind of off-meta one trick. Yeah. So let's just talking about the game in general then. So Gary, I suppose it did seem like it was a bit of a slope, just gradually the lead was being gained really by Flagshot. But were there any particular things you picked out that Lancaster maybe dropped the ball a bit on?
I think that they did well with the jungle pressure. It was a lot better than the first game. They did try and play around mid, they did get slapped. There wasn't really much of a follow-up to that later. But by then the snowball had already started. I think it was mostly overcommitting. I think was Lancaster's biggest problem that game. But I like to see them better. They weren't just going to sit back. They were trying to make things happen.
And Niall, what are your thoughts anyway? Anything particularly, notable that you saw aside from the trades early on?
No idea who played back this time. I think we should do the instead of like chain less rush. And even though Noodles was down and got CS in the first game, everyone on the other side of this game. So it did show that you can actually, if you build the right items, actually expect a bit of magic. You actually a bit of damage, you can push out later.
That's true, yeah. I'm just going to look over a second and see if any of the players are still hanging around. See if we can get them. Nolly, could you see if we can get Shane? Shane? Yeah. To do an interview, yeah. Anyway, until that happens, fair enough. So, Gary, what other thoughts do you have on the game in general?
I'm going back to this again. I don't think he's in a good place right now.
Yeah. They're doing a team photo.
But I was happier with the aggression for both sides. It was a more interesting early game, and that did lead to the early snowball. That was also because of Lancaster's calm. They didn't really have a way to get back from behind. Like Zaya does individually do a lot of damage, but not really more than an edge that's ahead.
Didn't have the range, got focused on that backing point in force where they got 0. Zaya was low at the beginning, couldn't follow, couldn't finish off the 2 kills at 100 HP. And then the Northeast team comes down, the Oriana comes in.
As a support main, I will say, I'm disappointed by that game. In that game, it was a little bit better than the first game, but not by much. And
both junglers on track as nice this time.
Yeah, both junglers.
York's topside vision was extremely good. So blue side jungler with Lancaster's games pretty rewarded. So you know at that point the jungler's bot side, you just play on top side. That's why they needed
Nautilus was able to build the pushing out build, but he was so safe because of the ward vision that he was never really in any trouble. So very good ward game.
What about obviously jungle pressure was something that was a bit of a problem for Lancaster in the first game. How do you think, to stick with you for a moment, Gary, how do you think that kind of developed in the second game?
I think that they did learn some lessons from the first game. They did try and apply more jungle pressure early. I think that kind of fell off, but I don't know if that's just a result of like the snowball or maybe team comms getting a bit stressed, because sometimes when teams are losing, they'll kind of go quiet and there's not the communication there.
That's true.
If you're not a team that has like played together a lot and you haven't been able to like build that, come on guys, we've got this. You might not have been there.
Niall, what do you think? Obviously, the jungle pressure was very strong again from York, to be honest. But how do you think? Do you feel like Lancaster did they pick up a bit on the flaws they made in the first game?
Definitely, yeah. Like Lancaster was really well. It had the opportunity to score. Obviously, the train came in, pushed the causes down, and then later managed to get that triple kill top lane, and from then on, there's not very much Lancaster could do.
And what do you think about the jungle picks in general in that resort?
I think picking the Kha'Zix away was definitely a good choice. Graves and Lee Sin Lee Sin was banned again.
Lee Sin was banned again.
Having the Graves open was much pressure. It's risky. Yeah, it's extremely hard.
I think Graves was in the right place at the right time a lot. He was there for good counter mechanics, yeah, and he was there for pretty much whenever Kha'Zix was there. We didn't see Kha'Zix try for the early Dragon, mostly because there wasn't as much lane control in bot. So
you can put that down to level 1.
Yeah, it's just that level 1 could have been so different with Drybush mod.
I mean, do you feel like the picks in bot lane with the Ezreal, obviously against the Rakan, you said, do you feel like that had quite a big influence on how that went as well?
Yeah, I do think Rakan is a good pick of Ezreal, because Ezreal does have so much more range than him. Like, even full range, you're not getting the W onto Ezreal from Rakan, so
That helps.
without help.
Under the Kha'Zix, he can't help himself.
No, there was a little bit strange in the game bot where Kha'Zix jumped out.
Yeah,
I
it looked like he
down
could have
to miscommunication there.
You could have moved up behind him and sniper back with double wings.
Indeed. No, fair enough. So I suppose, Niall, if we're just looking at the set in general, what do you feel was I suppose the most decisive issues in the game that really meant that it was such a one-sided affair?
I've said it a few times, but I think the vision control was really important. First game, you utilised the other side. And the second game, it guaranteed the top players that they only had to play out the sides, which they did, and then they were able to counter with aggression.
And we did point out before the game started that York's jungler mid laner very strong. I think they showed that here.
That's true.
I mean, we saw Ori into a more typically damaged base, but in the second game, Ori was just able to handle the pressure well and give it back just as much damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that has to be said is really like there were obviously two particular, the jungler and the mid lane on very skilled, and I think that did play quite an important role in a lot to at least an extent. I don't know. Gary, how do you think that they really should have dealt with that though, Lancaster? Because it's very hard when you're dealing with two extremely skilled opponents if you feel like you can really just carry to an extent the rest of the team. So how do you feel they could have dealt with that?
I think the strategies that they used in both games to try and deal with the mid lane pressure would have been better with the other junglers, if that makes sense. I think they'd have been better off having the Kha'Zix gang, the Cassio, putting down the pressure. And then Ori is quite a safe laner, so even though they did blow the flash and the barrier early, Ori is able to play safe not that big of an issue. So I think the mistakes in the first game was targeting top, and I think the mistake in the second game was. No, actually, I'm happy with the early game from Lancaster's jungler in this game. It was a lot better. I like that Lancaster did learn the lessons that they needed. They recognise that they do need to be more aggressive if they have any chance.
Maybe if they had a more aggressive bot lane,
yeah.
If they can do harm, obviously, we can just put it down to one game where
they were just able to do pretty much what they wanted after that. Although, like we say, it was quite close to the first fight. Potion could have been the difference.
Right, well, we're about to go to an interview with one of the members of the winning team, but just before we do, Gary, could I just ask you for some final thoughts then on the set?
I think both teams, they did their best. I think York showed that they were the better team in this case. But I'd like to say thank you for having us while we're here. It's always nice to come back to York. From York
Especially to play video games.
Yeah, video games. It's only the second year that eSports is worth points at Roses.
That's very true. And it is worth mentioning, you're right.
yeah, it took a lot of work from both societies. It was what 4 years in the making, like badgering Yusu and Lusu to get it done. But we did get it done, and well-deserved victory for Lancaster this year. Although, sorry, the York this year. And Lancaster, you know, we've got CS:GO next. There's still some drags to fight for.
Very much so.
And I think it's going to be very fun in CS:GO. It's going to be quite hype. Both teams do kind of know a lot about each other. I think they have some members who were in the same clan. So that's going to be great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and now I'm going to ask you to very quickly just finalise it off with a few words.
I think you're definitely a solid early game in that game, fun game. Obviously, good snow, really good snow control, good vision, and at the end of the day, it's a perfect game, so you can't really complain about it.
Great, well, thank you very much for having you both here. You've been very helpful, and yeah, cheers. Thank you very much. Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah. Hello, Shane. So, congratulations on your victory. Well done.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
As ever.
Yeah? I mean, I've got to admit, the first game I actually thought at one point it might be a perfect game. The second game it was a perfect game. What are some thoughts you have about how it went?
I mean, the first game was really good because we obviously it was the first game. We were sort of testing everything out.
Yeah.
And then we got really good vision control in their jungle, which really helps against Rek'Sai because obviously he can gank from everywhere. So yeah, it was going really well. And then I mean, they got a really good ult Baron. We all sort of walked into it with we weren't really paying attention. I guess we got cozy, and yeah, we all got fucked there. I'm not supposed to say that, but whatever. Yeah, and then I walked into the next one as well, but it was okay. It was a good game. It was a good start game.
Yeah, that's fair. So, from your perspective, are you the captain of the team?
I guess so.
Yeah, no, you did the coin toss. I think that basically makes it. Yeah. And so, from your perspective as the captain of the team, how did you find the? One thing we don't see from the stream perspective is the communications, and it'd be interesting to know something about how the communication side of things went, especially when we had those bits with the Shen ults being called in around the bot lane and things like that.
Is that because we had Shen the first time? You mean?
Yeah, in the first game, and then in the second game, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey is very much the voice in bot lane. I mean, I play there with him, but I'm like the monkey AD carry basically. So he tells me what to do. So when he says we're going, he tells Josh, come on, we need that Shen ult, and he just goes in. But he goes in all the time, so Josh is always waiting for it.
Does he tend to call the shots more than Mike?
Definitely in the bot lane, yeah. Sometimes he calls them a bit too often, but I mean, it didn't happen that time, thankfully. We were okay.
I'm interested to get just a little bit of insight about, who are the more vocal people in the team, because a lot of people say that Jason, the mid laner, isn't actually a particularly vocal player.
No, he's not often vocal. If we try and make decisions, he sometimes tells us they're bad decisions. Aside from that, no, he'll tell us like if somebody's in a certain place or something, but he doesn't generally make those decisions himself. But yeah, he gives good advice in games.
So let's just imagine that the first game has just happened again, and you've suddenly switched loyalties and you're on Lancaster's side.
Yeah.
What would you have said to Lancaster going into the second game about what they could have done differently? Do you think? Not in a rude way, just constructive criticism.
Yeah. Well, they could have improved on after the first game. But they were actually doing really well bot lane, especially the Rek'Sai could have. We're not obviously the best team in the world, so they could come in with the Rek'Sai, try and get some early ganks behind us. Because we've had games against Rek'Sais before that have destroyed us because early on they come in, they gank from behind bot lane, we play aggressive, and we were already behind in CS because we're not very good at CSing. So they could have snowballed the lead from there. But I mean, it's hard when you don't get any vision control as well, like they didn't and we did. So we always knew where he was, and yeah. So I guess clearing your own jungle would be important.
No, fair enough. And was there anything you were particularly, obviously you got a chance to scout about, anything you were particularly practicing that we saw in those games? Is there anything that was particularly thought out about it? Obviously, I was going to say the one thing you did really well was the vision control, as you just said, was ridiculous. Everywhere on their map was covered.
I mean, that comes a lot from just having such good players like Jason, Freddy, because they play at such a high level, like in solo queue anyway. They're so used to doing that. So all the time they're putting wards down, they're always thinking about it. So I mean, I don't really have to think about it because I'm the AD carry. I bat pink wards every now and then, but I mean, I am the monkey. I right click. You saw in the first game, I had like 10 assists and 1 kill. But yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Anything on the top lane side of things? Just we haven't really heard much about it.
About Josh?
Yeah,
top lane. Yeah, I mean, obviously Josh, he pays attention to that. I don't know, he doesn't go very aggressive generally, but he doesn't get punished for it that often either. So he's a good, I don't know, like a solid player in the top lane. He's always ready to help out the team. Yeah, exactly. That's the word.
Cool. Right. Well, anyway, one final thing. So, I suppose just in terms of the set in general, if you had to say 3 words that you could kind of sum up how it went, and just your thoughts in general, or 5 if you want.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay, 3 words. Well, I don't know. Lucky player selection.
Okay, great. No, fair enough. Right, well, anyway, congratulations.
You.
Really, you did tremendously well. And great, we'll be joining you in some CSGO very soon. Thank you.